So we're just seeing that a lot of the claims that she initially made, we're now starting to see the additional context that he's backing up with text messages, emails.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast. My name is Adam Glyn. Over there is Dax Holt. We are the two stylists behind Kanye West and Bianca at the Grammys. We do a podcast. No, we are two entertainment news journalists trying to break stories, trying to make stories, trying to tell you what is going on in the world of pop culture and entertainment news. Dax over there, fresh from the Grammys, which I'm sure you just watched the highlights because it's hard to watch all of it.
Adam, I watched the whole thing this year. I know you
watched
always
an award show.
I watched the whole thing. I actually, the Grammys out of all of them is the one that I truly like, that and like the Billboard ones, because there's so much music the whole time. Keeps me interested. The Grammys, I liked them this year. I thought they did a good job. We can get into that once we bring our guest on. But yeah, I truly actually enjoyed them. But obviously what I want to talk about today, Adam, and this is funny because I made a joke in our private Facebook group off the record. I was like, oh my God, Justin Baldoni released this whole new website. It's called thelawsuitinfo.com, and it is his side of the story. And it is just like thousands of documents and all this stuff. And I made a joke in our private Facebook group. And I was like, hey, guys, this is way too much for me to read. Can someone do a podcast about it and just let me know what the hell is happening? And someone in there's like, oh, Zach Peter, he is like up on all of this information. You should have him on. So guess what? Who we got on for today? We got Zach Peter on. Obviously, Zach is one of our buddies. He's got the podcast No Filter with Zach Peter. And we're going to bring him on to try to brief us on everything going on with just this Justin Baldoni website, anything new going on with Blake Lively, but also get his opinion on the Grammys and also Adam's opinion. So I'm gonna bring him in. We still need to do our review, but I'm gonna bring him in just so he can be a part of our conversation right now, because don't want to leave him out totally. So welcome, Zach. How are you, buddy?
What's up?
Good.
Zach?
What's up, guys?
Thanks for getting up bright and early with us.
Well, I told you, I'm like a psycho. I'm up at 4 a.m. every day. But like my mornings are jam-packed and on lock. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
Zach, did you
think
last night?
Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you think of Grammys? Did you like it? Were you a fan of it overall? Did it meet your expectations?
I caught the highlights. I just like Dax. I can't. I'm surprised that he actually sat through the whole award show, because I was following it on X and Instagram highlights. So I saw all the big moments. I saw, Beyonce practice her shocked face. I'm sure she got that from Taylor Swift.
Do you think that, how much of it do you think that they know going in that they're going to win? Like when I saw like Shakira showing up and she's performing, I got to imagine she's like, I will perform. However, I would also like to win an award for me to make the trip out there, to be a part of this. It's like Shakira's not showing up to every Grammy Awards.
No, I mean, it's all PR orchestrated, right? Whoever's presenting, whoever's accepting an award, like it's all, everybody knows who's going to win going into it, or at least they all know who's going to win. That's why they show up or they don't show up.
And Adam, did you know, like, I kind of felt like the Grammys this year was a big FU to the Country Music Awards, because they did not give Beyonce any recognition for this country album. And so the Grammys said, we're going to give Beyonce the best country album of the year. Oh, and we're going to give her just the best album of the year. Like, just all of the accolades for her country album.
Sorry, I know you were talking Adam, but I have to say, it's the worst Beyonce album to ever win Best Album of the Year. Like, I literally the worst album to give her this award for. It was not her best album, but I just had to interject
No, I agree with Zach. That is not. Listen, that Beyonce album, the main song was good. Like, the feature song was good. The rest of the album was under par. I mean, I don't think anybody could really name 5 songs on that album. Her previous albums were classics. This album is not even comparable to those. And I just didn't even think this album even got that many buzz. I was surprised even got nominated for Best Album, then to win Best Album of the Year. I mean, huge surprise. And it's so funny. I wish the other people, like we say, Zack, Dax, we both, the artists practice their faith when they win the award. How about practice your face when you don't win the award and the camera's on you? And you're sitting there like, oh my God, yes, congrats. I'm so happy for them. Like, really, are you happy? Like, stop that bullshit.
I love those cutaway shots when they're like, you didn't win. Camera right on your face. Like, let's get a tear. Like, they want that reaction. It is. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Now, I've got to say, I think that at this point, Beyonce, the Grammys had to give her the album of the year. They've never given it to her. She's been up for 4 times. She is the most decorated artist in Grammy history. And so they were like, okay, we got to do this eventually, guys. I don't know. It was weird.
But for this album, I mean, come on.
Well, you fucked it up the last 4 times, so they got to do it at some point.
Also, to your point, Adam, it wasn't even a great song. It wasn't even a great single. The only reason we all knew it is because they kept playing it on TikTok. So it's like Cars for Kids. That's her number. That's the single from Cowboy Carter. It's Cars for Kids, and we just heard it on TikTok 50 million times.
I love it.
Yeah, one person people are talking about last night was the Chappell Roan. We always say
Chappell Roan.
I know, it's Chappell Roan. So last night, Chappell Roan won a Grammy. Last night she also performed. Dax, me and you've had mixed reactions or emotions even about Chappell Roan. She said some comments about her fame that we sort of disliked. Some comments just made her, for us at least, a little bit unlikable. She won an award. She brings out her notebook and reads from a notebook. And it just seemed very – she used the moment, which I guess it's right. She said – I want the labels to take care of the artists because we take care of the labels. How's the label taking care of the artists when it comes to health benefits and more, which obviously gets a big cheer from the crowd. I was a little bit shocked she won the award. I mean,
no, I was not shocked at all. I think here's the thing about Chappell. I may not like her in her public life. Like, I feel like she kind of rubs me the wrong way with the way she says stuff or treats fans or treats photographers or whatever. Like, that part I feel like is weird, but maybe I have to chalk a little bit up to it as she's brand new and she is like not used to fame, and all of a sudden she is one of the most famous people on the planet, like overnight, and it's probably pretty jarring. I will say she's a fantastic performer. She performed last night, whatever the Pink Pony, what the hell is that name? Zach, do you know the name of that song?
Pink Pony Club.
Pink Pony Club. She did a great job, and she's very much like, I would say, using that like Lady Gaga shock and awe and crazy outfits and all that kind of stuff. Even when she went to go up on stage, my kids were like, what is she wearing? Why does she look like a clown? And I think that's just part of her look. Like, she's interesting to watch. So on that side, as an artist, I think she's doing a really good job of keeping everyone's, attention. So I think she deserved the award. But yeah, it was a little weird speech, but I'm not an artist. I have never had to fight for benefits, so it must be a pretty big deal.
But I would say Sabrina Carpenter is taking a page from like Dolly Parton. She's like the new Dolly Parton of this era. She's got the hair, the look. She looks like an older John Benet Ramsey almost. It's just kind of milking it, just going nuts. She's like just sitting there. She doesn't even sing. She just talks all cute. Or like, I'm just waiting her for just go, I'm a cute chick, lollipop. Like, I don't know. It's just not even songs. It's not even music. She just sort of prounces around, and it's nice to watch. She's like funny, she's charismatic, she's a good performer.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I like the crazy. There was and I don't know if you guys saw it. They debuted Lady Gaga's new music video in the middle of the show. I was like, yes, Gaga is back with her crazy ass outfits and her weirdness. Like, that had kind of faded away when she got into like being an actor, and she like started not dressing as crazy, and she's back. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's I'm glad. And it's funny, if you go on TikTok now, the first thing that pops up is like an ad from Lady Gaga trying to get a competition, some sort of like a dance competition on her new song. So I thought she did good with Bruno Mars. I thought that was fun. I mean, overall, it was an entertaining, it's like one big concert mixed in with a fire telethon behind it, raising money for the fires from the whatever. It was
the
just
LA fires.
Yeah, the LA fires. Trevor Noah, by the way, so like interesting. He's just like he's such a unique host because he's a comedian, but you don't remember any of his jokes. There's nothing memorable about I'm sorry, like there's nothing memorable about his performance. He's very good to keep the show moving on, but other than that, he's almost like a South African Ryan Seacrest. Like it's very just vanilla.
Does he still have his talk show?
No, he doesn't. He gave that up. He doesn't have it.
Wow.
So, but it's just, I don't know. I'm surprised they keep letting him host when it's just.
You know what I was surprised about? I was surprised that they gave Kendrick every Grammy that he was nominated for a diss track, because it was almost like the Grammys were like, we're gonna really say fuck you to Drake by giving Kendrick every single award, which was kind of shocking, especially after Drake filed this massive lawsuit, the whole thing going after the record label. I was surprised. I mean, it's a great song, don't get me wrong, I love this song, but I was more, and when Kendrick got up there at the end, I thought he said, "What's up, Drake?" And I was like, "Oh!" And he said, "What's up, Dre?" He was talking to Dr. Dre, but I thought at that moment he said hi to Drake in the middle of his win, which I was like, damn, that's brutal.
Well, I also feel like the industry had to really blow up Kendrick because it is a bold pick, in my opinion, still to have him be the halftime performer at the Super Bowl. I mean, that was like, whoa, Kendrick Lamar, of all the people you could have had. I mean, I would have thought Lil Wayne before Kendrick Lamar, in my opinion, but you pick Kendrick Lamar, you got to stick with it now. You really got to make this guy into a star.
I did not realize, you know how many Grammys Kendrick already has? He has 22 Grammys. He's one of the most decorated artists of all time already. And I didn't know that. I was looking up Grammys, so I was like, oh, how many does Beyonce have now? Oh, she's got 35. And I looked down, I'm like, holy shit, Kendrick's got 22? I don't even remember like when he won all these other awards, but he's done really well for himself. Yeah, I just thought that.
Let me ask you this, Dax. Is Kendrick Lamar, he would sell out the Forum, correct?
Hell yeah.
Okay. Would he sell out the what's the place where the Chargers play? Where you been to? SoFi?
You're talking about SoFi?
Yeah. Would he sell out SoFi? Kendrick Lamar?
Of course, because it's in Inglewood. Like, okay. That's basically his hometown, of course.
Okay. So do you think he would sell out MetLife, which is Giants Stadium in New York? Do you think he would sell that out?
Yeah.
I think he would sell that out.
Yeah. I think you're not understanding how big Kendrick Lamar is.
Maybe I'm not. I listen, I like him. He's a very nice guy. I like some of his songs. I say some of them because I don't know.
Zach, you agree or disagree with me?
I mean, he's popular, but I think I'm with Adam. Like, I'm just not like as familiar with his music. Yeah, I was shocked that they picked him for the Super Bowl, but I mean, I guess the industry really wants to make a strong stance that they're standing by Kendrick and not by Drake. Drake pissed somebody off because not only is he getting celebrated at the Grammys, but then we have the Super Bowl coming up, and I don't know. I'm not as excited to see Kendrick and SZA at the Super Bowl.
I always feel like for a Super Bowl, I think you have to have a huge female artist at the Super Bowl doing the halftime. I think that is the key to massive success, because you're going to get all the guys sticking around to watch. You're going to get all the women sticking around. Like, for some reason, like when it is Super Bowl, I think huge female artist is going to, take the cake.
There you go. They should have had Chappell Roan.
too young, too new into this industry. Give her a couple years and she'll do the shock and awe, and we'll invite her to the Super Bowl. All right, I want to get into this. This is the reason that I hit you up, Zach. Justin Baldoni, he releases this massive website called thelawsuitinfo.com. It is a full breakdown from his point of view of all of the communication between him and Blake Lively throughout pre-production, the filming, everything. It ends with us, and it is his side of the story to clear his name during this whole extravaganza of he said versus she said, the lawsuits, all of it. I opened it. I took one look and I cringed because there was so much information. I mean, thousands of images and documents, and on the images, it's like a reference of who was talking when, and like the screen grabs from like text messages back and forth with redactions of who it was to, but it would say whether it was Justin Baldoni, if he sent the message. I mean, there was so much, my brain exploded. So I am bringing you on to be the professional in this situation and try to get us up to speed on what the hell is in this website, and is it worth it? And did he waste his time, or is this going to clear his name?
It's really tough. So they're going into a hearing, I believe it's this week, because she's fighting to have a gag order put on Justin Baldoni and his attorneys. She's also fighting back on having his attorney, Brian Friedman, depose her. So I'm just like, Blake, this is not a Colleen Hoover movie. You can't just come into court and start calling the shots and who gets to depose you or who doesn't. That's not how the court system works. But so he was it's a pretty bold move. He published everything. It's just under, I think, 130 pages of a full timeline from when he first started emailing with Colleen Hoover, who he has a 5-year relationship, which is why it's so shocking that she's distanced herself from Baldoni to side with Blake in all of this. But so it starts with the initial emails where he talks to Colleen.
And for people that don't know, who is Hoover?
Colleen Hoover is the original author of the book It Ends With Us. And so the book is it's a two-parter. So It Ends With Us, and then the sequel is It Starts With Us. And so she connected with Baldoni about 5, I would say probably going on 6 years at this point. And they connected, synergy. She saw his movie 5 Feet Apart, and she's like, you know what, the person that I really want to direct a film based off of these books would be you. She sold him the rights to It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us, which eventually became, a Sony-backed film that Baldoni was producing. They booked Blake Lively to be the lead. And, from there, all this drama ensues once they actually start filming the movie together. And she seemingly is not happy with the creative direction that he was taking the film in. And so now he has the full timeline. And then this website also has an amended lawsuit against the New York Times, where he's trying to prove that the New York Times and Blake Lively colluded in a smear campaign against him.
Was there any bombshell items inside of this website that Justin Baldoni released that people need to know about that really helps out his case?
For people that are savvy, so I've read the full 80-page complaint that she filed. I read his New York Times lawsuit. I read his lawsuit against her and Ryan Reynolds. So if you've been following the case closely, there's not a whole lot of new information, but a lot of other little colorful details that really side with his viewpoint on things. And I think he really hammers in the 3 biggest misconceptions that she laid out in her lawsuit. One being the lack of intimacy coordinator, because he provides text messages where he invites her to meet with the intimacy coordinator. She declines. He provides notes with his meetings with the intimacy coordinator where she refused to meet with her. So he then took a bunch of notes that he would have to relay back to her. So he publishes all of those notes. He also publishes emails with the intimacy coordinator that confirms that at some point her and Blake did have discussions, and Blake was, totally cool with all of the intimate scenes that were supposed to be filmed. So I felt like the intimacy coordinator case, he really put a final nail in the coffin there with emails, text messages, her nudity writer that was approved by the intimacy coordinator. There's the alleged fat shaming that he really nails home with showing the text messages between him and his trainer, which is also her trainer. She said that at some point he directed her to a weight loss coach, which we now have realized through the text messages was a wellness coach, which, as you guys know, a lot of these wellness coaches, weight loss is part of what they specialize in. But through the text messages, we see that Blake Lively came down with strep throat. So he referred her to this wellness coach to heal her strep throat and I think get some probiotics to get some healthy gut flora. So we're just seeing that a lot of the things that a lot of the claims that she initially made, we're now starting to see the additional context that he's backing up with text messages, emails, script excerpts where, in the alleged fat shaming, he claims that the only reason he asked the trainer, which is a trainer that they shared, about her weight was because he had to lift her. She in her lawsuit said that there was never a lifting scene. And he says, well, it's actually because she had it removed. Here's the original script. Here's where Ryle was supposed to lift Lily in this scene. So he really backs all of his claims up against hers with some pretty hard evidence that I think helps his case in the court of public opinion, but we'll see how the judge feels about that when they have their hearing this week.
So, Zach, I heard one person say this is a David versus Goliath case. And then part of me is like, well, then who's David? Who's Goliath? Because Blake's claims are some serious claims. And obviously, a lot of times in today's day and age, when someone says sexual harassment, a lot of people jump to that side immediately. But now seeing what Justin Baldoni's doing, and he's putting so much work and energy into proving his side and what really went happen. Who is David? Who's Goliath in this case?
Very obvious. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are the Goliath in this case, whereas Baldoni would be the David. We have Blake and Ryan that have Taylor Swift on their side, WME on their side. They have the powerhouse that is Leslie Sloan, who has suddenly, changed her tune to Believe All Women when people forgot that she was representing and defending Harvey Weinstein amid his scandal when she was, when he was on her client roster list. So it's clear that Ryan and Blake are Goliath in all of this. They have the power, they have the influence, they have the media. I mean, they had the New York Times that published this entire article, which to me had red flags from the beginning. Suddenly I was able to log onto the New York Times website. There was no paywall. I was easily able to download, the entire CRD complaint, which wasn't even an official lawsuit. It was a CRD complaint that's typically confidential, filed in California. When her lawsuit, when it was filed in New York as a federal case. So there were just a lot of red flags that I noticed right away. But when you have the New York Times and WME and Taylor Swift on your side, it's clear they're the Goliath in all of this, trying to take down Baldoni, who I don't think they expected him to fight back as hard as he is.
So, throughout this entire case, I've said this a couple times that I've never had a case where in one moment I am like, oh, she is right. And then the next moment I'm like, oh, he is right. Like, because it has bounced back and forth so much, it has been a hard case to follow and to feel like I am like, this person is in the right. Zack, are you a Blake Lively supporter? Are you a Justin Baldoni supporter after everything?
From the beginning, I was not on Blake's side. Like I said, there were a lot of red flags in the New York Times article. But then in addition to that, her claiming that there was an alleged smear campaign against her without providing any actual evidence, aside from a couple of text messages with his PR team, which, the way that they obtained those was also a bit questionable. But I remember this playing out, and I'm sure you guys do as well, when she was doing the promotion for It Ends With Us. People were calling out her tone deaf interviews, right? And then there was the reporter that published the full interview of the little bump moment, where the reporter says, "Congrats on your little bump," and she responds very sarcastically, "Congrats on your little bump," which to me was kind of the catalyst that set the internet on fire, and then everybody started digging up old interviews. So to me, seeing how things go viral on the internet, I was just like, that was a very clear moment of the internet sleuths kind of taking things to the next level on TikTok, rather than I believed that to be a smear campaign. So I've always been skeptical of Blake's side of things, but the more evidence that Baldoni continues to publish, like the stronger case he has against her.
Well, I feel like both of them are in the wrong, because I do think that the text messages that came out between him and his team were not the greatest look for him. It did make him look like he wanted to take her down, and that they were willing to do about anything. So I think that those texts did not make him look good. I will say a lot of this other communication where you're seeing Blake, she doesn't look good. Both of them, I feel like at the end of the day, they hated each other. They both wanted to take each other down in the court of public opinion, and they both look like assholes, really. And it may be to each one of them needing to save their career, save their reputation. You're kind of willing to do anything. You probably didn't want all this going out into the public and everyone knowing the shitty things that you did to hurt the other person's reputation.
My only pushback to that is that what we saw in the text messages that you're referring to, where it does look like there was some sort of orchestration, right? Where and I was a bit skeptical of it at first too, of like, well, him saying we need to bury her, or or look at this example of how, I forgot which celebrity that he referenced in like an X post about, how they were all tearing her down. I think I was with you on that until we saw his side was like, well, actually, they released these text messages, but they omitted the full threat. And so when you see the correspondence, you can then sense the sarcastic tone, and you do see the outline of like their worst case scenario of, you know, if they had to really bury Blake Lively, you know, they had the plan in motion. But from what we've seen, that plan was never actually activated. And as you guys know, with crisis PR, you have to really prepare yourself. But the initial strategy with crisis PR is to just make your client look good. Look at Andy Cohen and Bravo and all the lawsuits that have come out against them. We haven't seen Andy Cohen or Bravo or NBC attack any of the housewives that are trying to sue them. We've just seen a lot of fluff pieces and interviews that Andy Cohen has done, which is usually the strategy of crisis PR is let's make our client look as good as possible so that we can, you know, continue to flood the SEO with positive coverage of our client.
So I read the website. I thought the website was great. It was actually a fun read. As soon as I started reading, I didn't want to read all of it. I was like, but then it was a good read. I'll tell you what, the real winner in this whole situation is the lawyers, because they must be making so much money per hour, because it's how many pages? It's over 100 something pages. It's so precise that who has the time to do that stuff? I guess if you're getting paid thousands of dollars an hour, you're going to kind of sit down and do that, because there was a lot of research behind that. How did the whole smear campaign start, that the alleged smear campaign start on Baldoni's side? Like, why would he do that? Was he just leaning into again, I just want to understand that more. And Zach, you might be more of an expert in this than I am. Was Baldoni leaning into the internet already having speculations about Blake being kind of a difficult, tough person in hopes of that was going to promote the movie?
So that's actually the counterpoint that he makes, is that he didn't do the smear campaign because his argument is, why would I smear the lead actress and try to ruin her reputation while we're trying to promote this film? If anything, if audiences don't like her, they're not going to show up to watch the movie. So why would I activate a smear campaign while actively trying to promote this film that I have a vested financial interest in? So her claim is that this is all in retaliation to her allegations of harassment that, you know, she was making throughout the duration of production, that, you know, because she made these claims against him, he wanted to make sure he buried her in the promotion so that, you know, should she ever try to speak out against him, nobody would believe her.
Man, I think they should lean into this whole thing. I mean, clearly more people know about this movie than ever would have. It's been a huge success because not only it did well when it first released, but because of all of this publicity, people are tuning in to watch it, to see if there's any awkward tension throughout the movie that they could now witness. Lean into it and do the second one. Do the sequel. Have to work together. Like, put your differences aside. You're gonna make millions of dollars, and realize, like, if we do another one, people are really going to tune in to watch the second one, because people are really going to be interested in how they were able to be in the same room together. That's what I think you need to do.
You don't think that blows up her lawsuit, though? Because if she's claiming that he's this Hollywood predator and then she goes into working...
Pull the lawsuits, fuck the lawsuits, like, make the second movie, and you'll really get people talking then.
See, that's the part I question, though, Zach, is I don't think Justin was like, I'm going to start putting out these stories to retaliate when she files her lawsuit. I think he was going to use this. The internet's already talking. Let's use this as a promotional way for the movie. I think he lost confidence that this movie was going to get their sequel, that they're going to make a second one. So he's like, you know what? Let's try to make some noise with this movie. Let's try to use this as a different marketing campaign. And I go back to what Dax said. I don't think both parties were wrong. It's such an interesting thing, and I think with this story itself, it's going to change the way movies are made, especially when it comes to love scenes. Because I have to imagine, over the years, there had to be love scenes when an actor and actor are working on a scene, and someone might be a little bit more touchy-feely than the other, and the person feels like they have to go, and they might have felt a little uncomfortable, but they kind of go with it because they're on a scene and they're in a big budget and there's so much going on that they do something that they might have not have wanted to do. So I think it's really going to change the way the movie process is going to be made.
Well, that's why they have the intimacy coordinators, so that someone isn't uncomfortable, because it can get away and it can get out of control really quickly. And I think that is the whole reason they have them, is too many movies got out of control where someone felt very uncomfortable, and like, this was supposed to be a scene And now I feel violated because it went way past the scene. So I think that it does put a spotlight on Hollywood for sure.
So I'm actually applying for a role right now for a job on LinkedIn for an intimacy,
Coordinator. You'd be the worst one.
I know.
You're like, yeah. Just go for it. Put your finger in their butthole.
Left hand on the shoulder, right hand on tush, left hand on. Do you ever consent? Consent. Here's your safe word. What's your safe word? Oklahoma. Okay, Oklahoma. Okay, end scene. She's unsafe. Yeah, but it's such a crazy lawsuit. So Dax, let me ask you right now, who's winning this case?
Man, I think a lot of this has changed my opinion, and I think Justin Baldoni is now in the lead here.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that when you are so transparent, and we've said this before, I think using the Johnny Depp playbook of fuck it, I'm going to air out every single thing about myself, even if it makes me look bad, like that super cringy voice memo. It did not make him look good, but I think that all of this, you start to combine all the evidence together, and he really is starting to prove his point of like, yes, this was said about me, but like, here's the reason it was said. Oh, that allegation? Well, here's the background behind that allegation. So I think if you start adding that all together, I feel like he is now starting to sway a lot of the public opinion in his favor.
Zack, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it comes down to a case of like feelings versus facts, right? Because she has her very clear, narrative of what she believes happened in that moment. And then he releases raw footage of a scene that, she's claiming he sniffed my neck and told me I smell so good. And then we're seeing 3 different takes of raw footage from that actual scene. And you're seeing, she says, oh, he's kissing her neck, and she says, oh, sorry, my spray tan probably smells. And he says, no, it smells good. And she's like, oh, that's just my body makeup. And then they laugh. And so when you see it in an objective context, it's kind of hard to say, oh, well, he sniffed her neck and then told her she smelled good, when she opened it up by saying, oh, my spray tan probably smells gross, which anybody as myself would know, spray tans don't smell good. They do smell gross. And so and it's a very specific smell. So I understand her insecurity. But, when you see text messages where, he's clearly inviting her to come and see the intimacy coordinator ahead of production, and she doesn't really seem to be interested in meeting with the intimacy coordinator. And then we find out through the emails and through her nudity writer that had to have been approved and co-signed by the intimacy coordinator that, there were no complaints that she was having throughout the duration of filming. So, when he puts together the timeline, he shows concerns from other producers, concerns from crew members, concerns from Sony, and all of those are documented in emails and text messages. It's kind of hard to then believe her side because she doesn't have anything substantial to back up any of her claims. Even the scene where she accused him of sniffing her neck in her complaint and in her lawsuit, she says that there was no audio that was filmed. And then Baldoni's team is like, actually, you're right. There wasn't supposed to be audio that was filmed, but he was wearing a mic pack and we have all the raw audio from that scene that was shot, which to her and her team was unbeknownst. But then they actually release all of the raw audio, which shows that it doesn't appear to have happened the way that she believed that it happened, or the way that she's claiming that it happened.
Does this hurt Blake's career, like long term?
1000%. Yes.
Will people still hire her to be in movies?
She when all of the first bad press first came up during the promotion of It Ends With Us, she should have just laid low for like a good year, done the Anne Hathaway thing. Everybody thinks I'm a bitch. Let me go into hiding. Let me hide under the covers for a year, maybe 2 years, go into retirement. She didn't need to work. Ryan Reynolds is doing fine. He's keeping the family afloat. But now, listen, nobody would have known she sequestered him to the basement. We would have never seen the photos of him on the Dasani water bottles hanging out with the woman that he took to the premiere that had cancer in the wheelchair. That, like, nobody would have known any of these crazy details. Nobody would have watched that footage of her. Nobody would have dug into any of the other scenes that, the internet sleuths were recording on the streets while they were filming the movie. like everybody would have thought, oh, okay, there are rumors with her and Leighton Meester and America Ferrera, Anna Kendrick. Maybe she's a little difficult to work with, but I think that this case that he has presented against her, even if she has a crazy court win by, sheer luck, I think in the court of public opinion, her reputation is tanked.
It's not
very much Amber Heard.
This is not getting to a trial. This is not getting that far. This will get settled way before then.
I think her attorneys are delusional, and like you said, they know that they're cashing in the check, so they're just going to try to appease her as much as they possibly can until. I mean, I don't get how any of this evidence goes before a jury and they vote in her favor. There's just nothing that seems redeeming in this.
It will not get that far. The more evidence that comes out, I think that at some point they're all going to want this hemorrhaging to stop. They don't want to keep paying their lawyers. And they will end up settling out of court and being like, it's going to be an undisclosed amount, and neither one of them can talk shit on each other for the rest of time, and it will just go away, and we'll finally be able to stop talking about this goddamn case.
There's one thing that, Dax, I want to point out. There was a video that happened last week where Ryan Reynolds is going into a building, and there's tons of fans there with a ton of memorabilia there for him to sign, and the internet is so quick to jump on. It was a setup thing. Ryan Reynolds set this up. And I'm not on Ryan's side and Blake's side. I'm not on Justin Baldoni's side. I'm just here just eating popcorn on the side, just loving this. Dax, this is fun to me. But I have to say, I saw the video and I know the people that were there. That was not a setup shot. He was going into the Paley Center. It was an event. Everyone knew that he was going to be there. That's why those fans were there. Those aren't just fans. Those are professional fans. Those are professional autographers. If you look at the stuff they had to sign, they had like personalized stuff that the average fan would not have laying around for Ryan to sign. But yeah, Ryan Reynolds was going to an event. There was tons of fans there. You sort of know that he's going to sign because there's so many eyeballs on him where you want the public to really hate you, ignore these fans. And again, we know that they're not real fans. They're just professional dealers. But you sort of know that he's going to sign because with everything on the news, if he ignores the fans, Ryan's a dick. He ignores his fans and runs into a building. No, he stopped for the people, signed a few autographs. Those people aren't fans. Are going to sell those autographs on eBay. So, yeah, I will defend them on that. That was not a setup paparazzi shot.
I feel like, yes, he's been dragged into it, but I don't feel like he looks like such a bad guy. I mean, he's defending his wife at the end of it, and they're, but I don't feel like his career is going to be tarnished because of this stupid thing. Do you?
His career won't be tarnished only because his fans don't care about this type of stuff, right? Like the people that are watching Deadpool are not the people that are closely following all of this drama, right? That are, reading the website. Like they don't, like these are straight dudes that just like to watch Marvel. They don't care about Blake Lively or Justin Baldoni, and they're never going to watch It Ends With Us unless their wife drags them out to it. So I don't think he will be that hurt by it because I think his fan base is still going to be pretty loyal to him. But I guess, Adam, to go back to the paparazzi moment, because I saw the people and similar to you, I was like, this could be organic. Like this possibly was not a staged paparazzi thing that I know people were immediately jumping on. But I know that the main thing that people were pointing out is that the memorabilia that everybody had seemed to be the same image from Deadpool and Wolverine. And then they were all taped on boards. Now, the boards, I would imagine, are so that when the signature, is signed, it doesn't smear or it's easier for them to sign it. But it was, to me, it was just a little coincidental that everybody had the same printout and it was all on that board. But if they are professional selling memorabilia, then I think that does add more context that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the video, the first guy that he takes a photo with is this one kid that was the one, I don't know if you remember the video of Tom Hanks leaving Nobu and gets in a fight with a kid outside Nobu and says, like, leave me alone. Remember that video that came out a couple months ago? Well, yeah, and so Zach and Dax, those boards is so obviously when you sign it, it gives them a hard thing. But also, if you put out the board, I can have 3 photos on there rather than shuffle 3 photos and have them sign and have the ink smear. So what happens is there's a dealer there, and then they hire other professional autographers and say, hey, I'll give you $50 per autograph you get. So everyone's just trying to get as many autographs as possible because, again, the more autographs you get, the more money you'll make. And they're just sharing photos. Like, here, take that photo. You take that photo. So
So
I understand your point, but those are one. I know those guys personally because it was in New York. They're all
So
professional autographers.
arguably, it would make more sense. Whereas I think typically Ryan Reynolds wouldn't stop to sign these because then it's very clear that they're trying to sell this memorabilia online. Whereas most actors shy away from those types of autographs because they don't want people to make money. But arguably, given the PR crisis, it would make more sense why Ryan Reynolds would then stop to make it, to sign all of this memorabilia to, look a little nicer in
Well, and
comparison to all of the
Ryan knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
We've heard lots of stories of Ryan not being the nicest person, walking around in public, taking photos with fans. Like, it's not normally something that he does, and he can be pretty grumpy outside in the streets of New York. So I think that he is being on his best behavior right now with so much attention on him and his wife that makes sense why he would stop and sign as many autographs as possible
with a smile on his face.
Yeah. Listen,
that's not the case most of the time.
He normally, I don't think a guy like, I shouldn't say he wouldn't want to stop because he does stop at big events. But if you were to see him at the airport, which is not like he's ever going to fly commercial, he's not the warmest of people. Yeah, he's not a warm guy. If you see him on the street walking to pick up his kid, like he's not like Jimmy Fallon that's going to jump on your back and say, hey, let's take a photo. In that situation, it is a work thing. It is a work event, and he had to turn it on. Would he ever not stop events? I'm pretty sure he's in, and I speak this for Ryan, and I'm not the biggest Ryan Reynolds like lover or supporter, but he does usually stop for fans at those type of events, especially right now when there's so much stuff is magnified and all eyeballs are on him. He's going to stop an event. So yes, that I know that was not a setup shot. But I mean, Dax, I don't know if I did talk to some people on Blake's side, and I thought they would be kind of like very, I thought they'd be kind of like irritated and just miserable and stressed out, but they seem very calm during this all. So maybe they just feel like at the end of the day, this is just going to end up with each person putting out some sort of statement. And I can see Blake's statement saying, I'm just happy that, hopefully filmmaking goes very fair and safe for future sets in the future. And Justin puts out some sort of statement and there's some money switching around. Everyone sort of gets paid a little bit where, again, I think right now, everything that happens, the worst that could happen. I mean, the money wise, I don't know how you pay that out. So
PR wise, I think that's her only winning strategy to win the public back over is one, be like, listen, I just had a baby. My hormones were all over the place. Maybe I was reading into things. I mean, just take the L, settle with him, and then make her mission less about trying to attack Baldoni and more about trying to change the work setting environment, right? Because, I mean, as of right now, with an intimacy coordinator, even though it's recommended by SAG, it's not necessarily a requirement that needs to happen on every set. An intimacy coordinator does not need to be present for every single love scene, as long as there's, discussions ahead of time, everybody's kind of clear, there, are clear minutes from the meetings that detail what was discussed, then it kind of is co-signed by an intimacy coordinator. But if anything, she should turn this into this is how I want these types of scenes in the workplace in Hollywood changed, and make it more about working with SAG or passing some sort of legislation to make sure that people feel safe in the workplace, and let that be her new mission. Otherwise, I don't think it ends well for her.
Yeah, I think you got to keep the message sort of vague, though. So it doesn't seem like you got the L, but yet again, doesn't mean like, hey, you lost. Doesn't need to seem like you won. It's like, hey, I got my point across that the movie sets should be, like you said, the intimacy coordinator does not have to be present when they're shooting the scene. That's just up to the director, up to them, really. But safer film environment. So basically what I wanted, got accomplished.
Well, and let's be realistic. Her best friend is Taylor Swift, who had at one point literally the worst reputation in Hollywood after the whole Kim Kardashian saga. People were turning on her left and right, didn't believe her, called her out for being fake, and she has been able to completely flipped the script on that and has now regained all of her credibility and has become the most like successful person in the music industry. So if you've got Taylor sitting there telling you, here, this is how you navigate through one of the shittiest times in your life when your reputation is ruined, I think she'll be just fine.
See, but a part of it is just kind of laying down and letting the dust settle, right? And Taylor did that until she came out with her Reputation album, where she really fought back hard. And similar to like even Anne Hathaway, when her reputation took a hit, she went quiet, she stayed away for a little while, and then came back with her next big film. That I think there needs to be a bit of that period of just letting the public forget, because we're quick to forget. Just like after It Ends With Us initially premiered, we forgot about all the bad press until she came out with the lawsuit, and then it blew up all over again.
Yeah, that's a good point. Lastly, Zack, if you're Justin's publicist, where do you go from here? And then the other side is, if you're Blake's publicist, where do you go from here? What would you do?
Blake's publicist needs to just settle the lawsuit, change, as we said, shift gears to making this a mission about workplace safety, and then just kind of lay low. Maybe do a couple of photo ops with charities and just kind of make it look like she's still kind of around, but making sure any press that she does is like philanthropic, and stay home with the babies, take some time off, come back in 2 years. Well, I mean, as of right now, I don't think anybody's looking forward to A Simple Favor 2 with Blake and Anna Kendrick. And then for Justin, he's at a high. I think he's going to stay at a high in terms of, the public perception. I think he finds his next. I think he ditches Colleen Hoover, doesn't do the second film. It Starts With Us, lets that kind of die, because I think Colleen's reputation is now taking a hit as a result of it, and now she's ghosted social media. So I think he finds his next big, novel to produce a film about. I think now
everyone knows his name too, from someone who I had no idea who the hell he was to a household name.
Now I think he's working with Scarlett Johansson on his next film, which is also smart considering the rumors of, Blake Lively meeting Ryan Reynolds on the set of Green Lantern while he was married to Scarlett Johansson. So I think that's a smart little PR twist to align with Scarlett.
Interesting.
So Zack,
know that part.
For people who have never checked out your podcast, No Filter with Zack Peter, tell them a little bit about what they can expect when they check out your podcast.
Yeah, I break down all the biggest headlines with a specific niche in celebrity legal scandals. That's kind of been my favorite thing, is to break down lawsuits. It started with the Tom Girardi, Erica Jane legal scandal, and now has carried on to Blake and Baldoni. So if you like legal deep dives into the celebrity scandals, then tune into No Filter.
We do. Zack, thank you so much for jumping on with us last second. Reached out to you last night and you were kind enough to say, yep, let's do it in the morning. So we really appreciate your time and love having you on. You come with so much knowledge, and thank you for being the person who read through all of those pages of the lawsuitinfo.com. So I did not have to do it. I appreciate it. For anyone else, go check out No Filter with Zack Peter. What is it No Filter with Zack Peter, also your Instagram, X, all of that handle as well?
Just plain Zack, and No Filter with Zack on Instagram.
Dope. All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zack, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. All right. Make sure you guys follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can watch the video version of this. And make sure you guys follow us. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more that came from. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily. Hurry up. Come on, let's go.